Check.
Test, 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 test. Speaker view. Ah. Hey,
Hi,
you just missed the great falling of all the snow off this roof over here.
it's been happening now for our solar panels all day. The dog.
Yeah. Well, we're all set up if anybody comes.
Alright.
And if they don't, they don't. And like I said, we can talk over those example documents, but we don't
I
have
haven't
to.
read them, we can assign them.
That was,
Expedite the, okay.
that's,
Talk over, that's what you mean, we gotta.
talk over means here they
And I
are.
will. How much I should, you know, I guess I need the job description for what the chair does. Is the thing. And so like how much should I be like driving the agenda?
So what we can do, ideally. Once I get someone in this chair other than me, is they will reach out to you sometime weeks before the meeting.
Right.
Like, what do we wanna have on the meeting?
Yeah.
Some of it is like standing agenda items, like approve the minutes from last time.
Right.
And we always put the event calendar on there. To talk about anything with that, we can always put an update from the family center on there.
Yes,
And then it's like, well, what else is going on?
and all that's right, then.
So it seems like we'll have this project of like learning about and talking about governance and how we all wanna make sure that we get along and that, I mean, a lot of it's communication, really. And working with the committees to have some new members, build a shared understanding of the sort of the legal framework that this all exists in, like.
Yeah,
Understand that there's a license agreement, understand that the town owns the land, but the way we got the money to buy the land means it came with some strings attached about what we can do with the land.
right,
And that's all kind of, lives underneath a bunch of this. And, that the town has this special event ordinance that actually has some unique carve outs
though this.
for Catamount and the family center.
Mhm.
But sometimes they're doing big thing, the family center is putting on a big event at Catamount that actually has to go to the manager's office and the select board for an event permit. And that's kind of like a little bit outside of what this committee
Yeah.
does.
Right,
Oh, sorry, I was going off. Be right back.
sure,
But. But, another one is like, we could decide, you being the new conservation planner could decide. Hey, let's put Tony and or UVM on like every other meeting to give an update about what's up with the forestry project.
Mm.
Once the conservation planner kind of gets going. They're gonna be wanting to update on like, where are we at with invasives removal,
oh, great,
brush hogging,
Right.
like, they're gonna start coordinating that. Hey Drew.
Hey, how's it going?
There'll be things to talk about with the family center about if they wanna spend money that's been allocated for them. To fix up bridges,
right,
which is a lot of what the money is there for, and how it's going with their master trail planning.
right, I think that we should
and
have
all of that.
update, like, so like in the agenda, an update from them every month.
Yeah,
That is there, and hopefully we can ask them about their building up, their building
yeah.
public comment.
So I'll clean it up a little bit to share with you, but Simon and Andrew both kept really good turnover notes of like, here's all things COFC and basically all things conservation planner. I can pull that out and make it a little more like understandable. And just like, these are the perpetual things that are kind of like going on out there.
Right,
And I think we can, no one's trying to get in, okay. We can kind of set that as like, there's sort of a standing agenda of just like stuff we should go through. And then you and me, or you and the conservation planner can kind of do a quick check-in by email or however you want to do it and say, oh, let's like, what things on this list are we really gonna be talking about this time?
Right.
And that'll be, there might be something that comes up in the midst of all of that. But I think it'll be a bunch of standing things and a long-term, medium-term project to work on the governance stuff.
right, and then scattered with. Peppered with the other groups that are involved in the forest,
Well, right,
like Tony or the
Right.
birders.
right,
Or
like
whoever.
if someone, Terry wants to come and give a Nest Watch report or
Yeah,
Terry.
she's chomping a bit.
Terry and Reed wanna, give an update on bird boxes or
Yeah, that'd
like,
be great, I think,
you
to remember
know,
that too.
who's gonna join remotely, all right. That's three. One more and you've got a quorum and you can actually do business.
We can vote on the minutes.
Oh, here's Hans.
The important business out of the way, right?
Hans says both links go to the same document. Shoot. All right, well, I'm gonna fix that. Hopefully I uploaded. Right.
Oh, the,
I'll double check it.
for the memo, the plans.
I did it super quick. I either might have messed up in the link or I might have uploaded the same document twice.
The memorandum plan and
The PowerPoint, it should be a PDF of the PowerPoint. And then it should be the example plan from that other place.
Does Workplace give a transcript of these meetings?
We get it through, I use a thing called Fathom. This also says being recorded by an AI companion. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's
looking at
embedded
that.
in Zoom,
Yeah,
if that's different, or it might just be saying, hey, Matt's using. Usually once I turn Fathom on, it'll actually show up like an attendee, and it does a pretty good meeting summary. I actually. For someone who's like in and out of a ton of Zoom meetings all day, it's actually kind of nice to have something that just throws you a bullet list at the end, and it's
Yeah.
actually like pretty accurate.
yeah.
Of like, here were the main topics of the meeting, here's who was there, here's the action items that kind of came out of it.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's nice to not have a person responsible for doing that. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
but we don't have action items out of this one too much.
no, I mean, as long as you've got a quorum, you can do your minutes. Let's see here, what did I do when I last minute tried to set this up? Forest governance 002, I bet I just didn't. All right, so that's the PowerPoint. And. Hey Hans,
Hi, Matt. Hi, everyone.
busted
Hey,
wing
Hans.
there, huh?
Yeah, busted arm.
No fun.
What'd you do there?
What?
Just skiing.
Oh,
Today?
No, no, no. 2 Saturdays ago. Friday, 6 days ago, I had surgery and they put it all back together. And yeah. And then a little over a week and a half, I leave for Japan to go skiing.
Oh, jeez.
can they give you like a grip shaped brace or?
Well, yeah, they take the surgical stuff off and then they put some kind of like Velcro on brace. But I was
Yeah.
just brainstorming today, like I need like a massive glove to like put over it. I think I'm
Oh,
gonna take like my kid's old snow pants and cut off the leg. And,
just
like,
make like a big
yeah, like a
toe.
giant sleeve or something. I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of a massive glove sleeve you could recommend to me?
Is that a downhill skiing accident?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Bummer. Sorry to hear that.
Oh, thanks.
All
I
right.
learned to use speech to text at work quite well on like my computer and how to exist with one arm.
Can you drive?
I haven't driven since I know I haven't driven. I probably could, but I haven't needed to. I work at home. All I do is work from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed. Now I'm less efficient too with my hands, so I'm slower.
Uh,
But you've gotten the okay for skiing.
No,
no,
I
don't,
mean,
don't.
I'm not
don't
gonna
that
ask.
question.
Like if you ask, they could say no. Like,
Yeah, no.
I'm not gonna ask.
All right.
I'll suffer the consequences.
Hans, I got your email, Mike. I linked the same thing twice in the email. It's right on the agenda page.
Oh, okay, I'll do that.
If you go to the agenda page, there's
Yeah,
Kim's
sure.
PowerPoint and then that other example document.
Okay,
I'll clarify that in a follow-up after the meeting.
sure.
Can we get Tony's PowerPoint too?
I will ask him. I thought I asked him right after, but yeah.
Yeah.
I bet I can get that from him. We can have that as a little library of
That was useful,
resources.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's 5:33. Let's call this meeting to order since
All
we
right.
started.
well, we are gonna, we appear that we are recording. Oh, here comes Jean.
Are these
And
clear up all the
there we go. We are up and running. Hi, Jean. And should be. Oh, and here comes COFC. Okay,
Okay. Well, are there any public comments? Doesn't look like it. All right, moving along. Let's jump to the minutes. Looking for an approval for the minutes of January, in your agenda on the website, it says 2024.
yeah, it should be
Okay, you're
25.
gonna
I'm
get that.
sorry about that.
All right,
I had two small things on the minutes, just for consistency, COFC instead of CFC. Whoever's
Yeah.
taking notes, when it says, uh,
there.
Right there. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
COFC, Catamount Outdoor Family Center.
on
Just so
number
we know
5.
what acronyms we're using.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, who's Darby Mayville? Respectfully submitted Darby Mayville.
Darby's on contract with the town to do minutes for
Oh,
us, in the absence of a conservation planner.
I see. Sure. Other than that, I didn't have anything.
I got that too.
Move to approve
Okay.
as amended. Move to
I don't
approve?
think we finished at 6:40. I thought we finished up after 7 o'clock. Not that that maybe matters on number 10
I
of adjournment.
will double check. I think it was.
It was a little bit later.
It was like right at 7 or like 7:05.
Because you had to
Yeah.
zoom off and it was
Yeah.
like 7:10 maybe or something, but
I'll check that and fix it. So, I think, Jean, did you make a motion?
I did.
You did. All right.
a second.
Second,
All right, all in favor of passing the minutes from January? Nope. What's the date? January 30th.
2020.
Please say aye.
Aye.
All right,
All right.
okay. All right, so we're gonna discuss a little bit the governance policy goals. Matt's gonna give us an assignment, I think.
Yeah, so. This is a bit of a project. I'm just trying to bring up your webpage so I can screen share it at the same time. This is something that I think, it's been an ongoing discussion item, but it certainly precipitated out of last month's meeting. That this group would like to work on collectively coming up with a document that provides some guidelines for governance of the community forest and really a way that we make sure that all parties involved in the forest are communicating with one another effectively about what's going on and who's got to know about what and all of that. And that's, also a major function of this committee. So you heard from Tony D'Amato from UVM about the forestry project last time, and you also heard from member Kim Coleman about just forest governance in general and how, some of the challenges that the town and the committee have faced with Catamount are really kind of endemic to collectively managing a piece of land where there are lots of different interests at play. So this will be sort of an ongoing project to work on governance with this committee. And we won't do it all tonight. We're not even going to do almost any of it tonight. But Kim submitted to us two things. One was a copy of her 3-slide PowerPoint, and another is an example governance document. And I'm just going to share show you folks. I sent this out via email. Hang on one second, there we go. So you should be seeing the agenda. Unfortunately, when I sent you the email, I double linked one of these documents and not the other one, but if you go to the February 13th page, they're accurate. So real quick, Kim's slides from last time. And Danielle asked me about getting Tony's slides and publishing those on the website so people can go reference those about the forestry project. We'll do that. And then here's this charter from the Dinky Landscape Restoration Project in Sierra National Forest. This is just an example of this. And I would recommend that folks read this for discussion next time, but we won't spend a lot of time on it tonight. And what I'd like to probably, just sort of add to that and circulate is, there are a whole bunch of governing documents related to Catamount. As good a place as any to start for anybody who hasn't is just to take a look at the management plan, which I put on your agenda tonight, just as the beginning of looking at guiding documents. And also the management plan addendum, just because if there's been an addendum, you should know it exists and that you might need to read it for clarification. So just a very brief beginning of that. And after that, before we commit anything to writing, before the meeting started, Danielle had a really good question for me, which is like, so what are we gonna do with these meetings? Like, what are we really doing here? And it's actually a really great question and a great place to start because
Hey, Matt, could you stop sharing if you're not going to use it? Because I can't see anybody on my little dinky
you
screen.
got it. I will stop.
Thank you.
And I think that is a great place since we've got some new membership and, we're going to have a fresh staff person here very soon running this from the town staff side. There's a lot that goes on this piece of land. It's the only land where we have sort of an outside party to the town in the family center that's conducting programming and maintenance and upkeep. And also doing long-range planning around facilities, as you all know. There are town events that might take place on the land. There's management of invasive species. There's the UVM forestry project. There's birding and bird box maintenance and all of those things. And as much as anything, the answer I gave Danielle, having looked at the turnover notes from our last two conservation planners, is we should probably have a bunch of standing items on the agenda about where each of those things are at, and especially as we start to roll into spring and some of those activities, get closer. So stay tuned for that. If I have somebody hired by next month, you're not going to see only them at this meeting. You'll see them and me as we work on that transition. I'm not just going to drop you on someone new, but
Right.
I think as we work through that, it will reveal some of the things that we maybe need to fill in some details on in this governance document or charter that we're going to start working on, which is nothing completely new. It's probably an outgrowth of some of the work I did with Simon and then Andrew on, how are we going to manage communication about town events? How are we going to manage communication about access onto the property? Things like that have come up in the past. How are we going to make sure everybody knows what's going on with the forestry project? One recommendation I have is that we try to get Tony to these meetings, maybe every other or every third meeting at least, just to give an update and just set that as a standing item. So those are some ideas I have. We can start with a little bit of homework and come back and maybe answer some questions, especially about the management plan itself, if that raises questions for folks. And keep this as an ongoing project for this group.
And we also talked about inviting other volunteer groups in
Yeah,
to present what they're up to as well.
yeah. So understanding, what does that bird box project really look like? Or, what does it look like when we have volunteers doing invasives treatment out there, talking to, Chapin about herbicide application and things like that. So, yeah.
I don't know if this is a helpful analogy, but it is for me because it's the work environment that I live in. Like I'm a manager and I have a team and they all work on very different things. I have one-on-ones with them every week. And there's an element of like checking in that things are going okay with them, motivating them to keep at what they're doing, making sure that they're not like scope creeping into something else that they shouldn't be working on, helping them with prioritization trade-offs. So like the way that I think about it is this committee, like we've got a bunch of people that are they're not our employees, but this committee has a bunch of people that all have their own work scope. And as managers of the property, we need to have like one-on-one check-ins with them, but not one-on-ones. Like they come to this committee and say, here's what we said we were going to do. We're holding ourselves accountable to the CCF committee to do what we said we were going to do. Here's some issues that we're needing help with. So it's almost like we're their managers. Like, so if you've ever had employees, like you meet with them to make sure that they're successful and they can get their jobs done and that they're, having the resources they need. So I think of like the outdoor family centers, like the main constituency that comes every week that like we want to be close in touch with. The bird box people is another group. And then like we definitely would do well to have like a bunch of other volunteers for invasive. So like an invasive committee, subcommittee leader who, comes and reports out what they're doing. And then like the forestry, UVM forestry project's another. So it's just, I think as like a manager, like we're the forest management team, and there's like all of these people that we want to have regular one-on-ones. But they come in and we meet with them, right? And make sure everything's moving forward. That's just how I'm thinking about it. What we do with these meetings. That was the answer to the question. What do we do with these meetings? These are our one-on-ones with each of those employees that we have that are doing stuff at the forest and, just kind of oversee them and help them, motivate them, encourage them, thank them, make them feel excited.
I think regular check-ins also develop a relationship so that if they say, "Oh, I had this great idea, I want to do this," but well, maybe we'll just ask forgiveness later, or versus coming and asking for input. Yeah, so a relationship with those folks with regular check-ins is good too.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that we can get more than one of these plans that Kim sent us? Because I think she said there's lots of them out there. I would just like to see more than one. A Scutney maybe, or I don't know, anybody else who's out there has got similar thing. I thought Kim was going to join. Maybe we can just pose that to her.
Yeah, I'm sure we can, and as it gets a little more detailed, I might, rather than linking documents in one or another agenda page, I might create a home for this just on the website for the committee, governance project, subheading example documents, and then I would send you guys an email and be able to point you to that when we update it. So we can give this project kind of a home that everybody can access on their own. Yeah, I think there's more that Kim can do. She sent those very quickly before the meeting saying, "Oh yeah, I've got some." So do that.
I mean, there's some things like it just kind of came up. Danielle and I were laughing about the fact that she totally hosed the entire forest by not getting us to mow the lawn last year. Danielle, it was your job and you didn't even do it.
I know, on my account.
What?
Brush hogging didn't happen. Oh
Oh,
no.
yeah.
I don't see how we're gonna get it done in the early spring either. Not with this wonderful winter.
No, but I mean,
know
it's just
what?
like
I
it's just.
don't know about brush hogging.
I
That's
know
not my
it's just it's like the scope of this committee it's a little ridiculous if we're in charge of long-term strategic planning and managing a budget and getting everything done and also brush hogging. So it would help to kind of clarify where some of those responsibilities are.
And some of those things it sounds like an invasive committee could work at places besides Catamount, like that could be something that there are invasives across town parks, maybe that's
Right.
some things that collaborate in other ways too. I kind of feel like we are also pivoting in addition to the staffing and the committee membership. We're still like dealing with the fact that a lot of the information about the Catamount Forest lived in Ethan Taber's brain as well, so we're still trying to figure out how we fill the space from what he was doing.
Right. So you'll see in the management plan, which is an overall management plan for the forest, it references the forestry plan.
Mhm.
So starting to, in your mind, imagine these nesting dolls or, this sort of flow chart of how those things all fit together. So part of it is how we all work together as people involved in the forest, and the other part is how do all of those plans and documents work together? And yeah, like.
Yeah, it's complicated.
So, how much of what Tony is doing is research and how much is in fulfillment of the goals of the forestry plan, for example? Because those aren't always exactly the same thing. And what would be really great, one of the things I'm seeing as I cover this gap between conservation planners is if among, folks who live in town who serve on this committee, we can build some of that institutional memory as well of like, hey, like Danielle's been doing this for a while. She remembers how it all fits together. She can bring a new member on. Like, before you know it, you're the most experienced person on the
No, I
committee.
think so.
And Kim,
Han.
Kim brought that up last time. She said turnover is common.
Yeah.
In these collective management situations, and it's a common challenge. So the more we build that, the more we build the knowledge base, the better.
And the policy,
Yeah,
have the policy set up.
yeah. Like Drew, when you came on the committee, I didn't have like a user's guide to being on this committee that I can hand you and say, here's what you're here to do, and here's how it all works, and here's all the things that the systems you're working within and how they affect one another. And Simon and I worked on something like that for a little while. Andrew and I worked on something like that for a little while, and then sometimes the job in the office is like standing on the beach and like the big wave comes and then you like stand back up and then the big wave comes, and it's not always a wave of Catamount things. It can be a wave of any other things happening. So we do it as we go.
Right.
I am curious if there are, say, questions for Tony. Is there a process there for communicating with him? Can anybody on the committee just reach out individually to somebody, or does it have to go through one of you, perhaps?
It doesn't have to go through staff, but it might be better if it does, because we might be able to put it someplace that it becomes part of a knowledge base for the committee.
Mhm.
So, Drew could say, hey, I've got this question. I think it would be great if we could ask Tony, and we might get a couple of Tony questions together, make sure he addresses them at the next meeting, and then also write down, under a forest research project subheading, like, here's what we know about this.
Does that person currently exist, or is that something that is forthcoming, perhaps?
It's probably forthcoming, so I don't want to promise too much of that in the time that I'm doing this, which will hopefully be short. We're literally interviewing hopefully 4 candidates, hopefully at the end of next week. We just invited them to interview. We've got great people applied, and I'm really excited. But it's just gonna take a little while to get someone in the seat.
So it would be the conservation.
I would have the
Planner,
conservation
is that
planner do it, yes.
conservation plan. Okay.
All right. So more to come on
Stay,
governance
stay tuned.
and do your reading, I guess, and we're gonna try to come up, Jean, with a few more examples to read about.
Yeah. And I wanna put all of the controlling documents someplace, that it's easy to read them and understand what they are. I started looking at doing that in prep for this meeting, and I found that, I have them all printed. And I know the ones I printed are the final ones and the right ones and the ones that were recorded in the land records. But I didn't have time to confirm that the digital ones I had were the right ones. And obviously, over the life of this project, we've got lots of drafts. So before I put anything out there, I just want to make sure it's really, really the final stuff. So take a little bit, but we'll make a home for that and let you know where that is as we go along.
I was just thinking, who are we, we're putting on Kim to find us some more of these documents. Uh, and I was wondering if John knew any, do you know the Ascutney people at all? Have we talked, I think Alan talked to them on the Outdoor
Alan's
Fitness
talked to
Center
him, Gary's
board.
talked to him.
Yeah,
I do have connections down there.
yeah.
We're happy to help with that research too, to get the documents
Yeah,
out.
maybe just email them and say like, do you have a like governance document we could learn from and how to live peaceably and together and all the constituencies that are on the property. I mean, we got to get that for the building too. I don't know, Matt, if that was I'm changing topics, but like who owns the building discussion?
Well,
Uh,
that comes up, right, you're gonna update us as soon as
oh,
we move on to the next thing,
okay.
right? Outdoor
So,
Fitness Center.
yeah, we can bundle those two together. Maybe let's wait for the rest of the conversation on that topic and see if we want to pick their brain on those two fronts.
Um,
Yeah,
One quick thing about the brush hogging, and I realize that I haven't asked the board before I say this, so I may have to retract this. But it seems like something that we could at least organize and plan. If it's getting paid for by the committee, it's easy for us to talk to the brush hogger and be like, now's the time. We have these days available because these events are not happening then. That direct communication is something where I think we might be able to solve some of these challenges and as we're there all the time.
yeah, and as long as I know that we're all set up, if it's going to be Eric Lackey again, that we're set up to make sure he can work and we can pay him and all that. I'm happy to sort of say, Eric, you're good to go. If I see an invoice from you, I know what it is and I know I can pay it. Please talk to John about when it makes sense to be out there and do that brush hogging. And does everybody on the committee at this point understand what the brush hogging work is and why we do it? Drew?
I would love any more detail you can provide, yes.
John, I don't know if you want to answer, you probably do a better
It's
answer.
all for the birds.
It's not all for the birds.
It's not all for the birds.
So there are sort of designated field areas on the property, and if we don't brush hog, then they revert to forest. And so this is part of that management plan. And when we talk about the forest management plan, I think that's a bit of a misnomer for this property.
Yeah.
It's really the land management plan because there are ponds, there are fields there, and there are forests and wetlands and creeks, and there's a lot more to it than just the forest itself. So the brush hogging is to maintain those field areas as fields.
I
Gotcha.
guess that's for view sheds too. I mean, obviously bobolinks and all that. I was joking, but like legitimately the birds are significant. The grassland birds are beneficiaries. And then I guess
Yeah.
view sheds and like, I'm just trying to connect in my brain all the reasons we want it to not turn into forest.
Yeah, it's different habitat than the forest too. So it attracts more than just the birds that live there. There are lots of other species that live in that area too. Um, and it performs a different function than a forest in the land. There's edge habitat too, which is super important for lots of species, including ones that live in the forest but want to come and feed on the edges where it's safe, but they can kind of dip out and dip back in. So maintaining those edges is another piece of this too.
And how often are these specific areas brush hogged? Is that a verb?
Every 3 years
Cleared.
has been what
Every
we
3
had,
years?
yeah,
Okay.
determined
Yeah,
that
that
we
makes
would
sense.
rotate through these 3 different sections. Cause I'm showing Drew the map that we had a document for from, I guess I'm not sure when it was set up. Maybe I feel like, 2023.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it seems, well, I would also say that it also benefits recreation because it's the sledding hill.
That actually gets mowed for hay.
Right.
Mowing. Okay,
Do a lot of them. I mean, yes, there are pieces of that are close to the sledding hill, but I'm pretty sure most of that just gets mowed for hay.
Yeah. And
That's
so for,
a different species of a different species too. So the guy who's mowing for hay really wants grass, and the guy that's brush hogging doesn't care what he's got.
right. And Drew, just for your benefit, the haying happens on a restricted schedule to avoid the times when the bobolinks are breeding and nesting.
Yeah.
So there are limitations on when the haying can happen
Yeah.
that are part of this as well.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, getting out ahead and making sure we get them scheduled. So we got into a situation last fall where it got wet fast, and the brush hogging contractor got stuck at one point, and then he went out and looked, and he was like, "Ah, it's too wet. I don't want to go out." So just keeping up with it, making sure that we're jumping on the opportunity to get that work done when it makes sense for everybody
Mhm.
is part of this.
Sure.
When we update our wetlands delineations too, that should also be taken into account, because some of this brush hogging gets pretty close to the wetlands, and there was some level of growth to these wetlands in the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
but we're not trying to do, I guess we're talking about brush hogging. We're not trying to do that in the spring, or we did kind of push it to potentially it would happen in the springtime.
I think the idea is, yeah, there could be a spring window, right?
I mean, sometimes May is dry as a bone, and it's really firm ground, so it can happen. I think it's more condition based than month based.
And Danielle, from a committee point of view, I think we like approve like what gets what's up to be brush hog. Did we do that already? So if May comes, like we can do it, or do we need?
Do we
I
need
don't
to
know.
reapprove the money? I thought we had approved the money last year, but then it wasn't spent, and I'm not sure if that means then it's rolled over into.
So our fiscal year turns June to July.
Oh,
So if we're talking about something that happens this spring, we're fine on money.
yeah.
Where you have the adopted map that says these are the areas and we're gonna rotate, I correct me.
That was more my question. Where are we prescribing the brush hogging to be done? Are we?
It
This is where
It's,
Gene steps in. Who are we to be prescribing where to
Maybe
brush
I'll
hog
put a screen
anything? I don't know.
Screen here. Okay, I'll keep talking. It looks like we had 2024 scheduled to be kind of where the sledding hill is, but we didn't get to it. Is that what you're asking, Hans?
Yeah.
Where are we trying to
If
get
we
to?
know where we're gonna do it, if we need to decide.
Yeah.
Based on our 3-year rotation, I think last year was supposed to be up the sledding hill, so we're pushing that off to this year. But I don't know, and now John's saying that that's mode, so.
Well, I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know the exact lines of where mowing and brush hogging are.
Yeah.
The other piece that I should mention though is that the place where he got stuck did not get cut. So I thought that was next, because that was a piece that had done and was in line before everything else.
John, was that what was down behind the pump track?
No, it's adjacent to the event field. I guess it does kind of go right. It's in between like the night trail and an elbow.
Yeah.
Is that making sense?
Yeah, well, there's a hand-drawn line on the map that's not gonna show up well on our primitive screen share that's labeled 2023 with an arrow that says too wet. And so that sounds like that's the area, we'd want to catch up on that, before we move on. But if we're getting behind and it feels like, we're gonna get behind and something's gonna grow too much to be effectively brush hog, we should take a look at that, and especially maybe planning for, next fiscal year, do we need to, reshuffle something? Those are good things to be thinking about. If an area starts to outgrow our rate of effective brush hogging.
Who would be the person that determines that?
I think we should ask Andy, honestly, our trail manager. he
Yeah.
knows those areas as well as anybody. And if you, I don't know that I have that mowing map, but that's all we need, and we could go look at it in the spring and be like, this could go another year, or we really need to do it now.
Okay, we can get that somewhere we can all see it, and if it's not online already, it's not top secret or anything, and make sure we get ahead of that if we need to.
We're happy to take pictures too, to sort of, say like this is the woody, growth, and it's this big, and you can see what we're talking about.
Great.
Sounds like we have two action items for you already, John, and we haven't even done your presentation. I feel like we're at Outdoor Family Center update at this time.
Well, so we submitted a recreational trails program grant this about a week and a half ago now, and that was for the initial phase work. It obviously is predicated on all the permits coming through. It also is a federal grant, which may vaporize. We're not sure about whether the money has already been allocated and is in place in Vermont or not, but it is run by the state. So at least that piece of it isn't currently changing. But it's a program that I've used in the past a lot, and really had great success with getting trails built and getting the support that was needed to make these projects happen. So if this does go away for a while, we're going to be searching for other opportunities. It's a fairly in-depth application, and in many ways it helps us better plan the project too. We have to pull together budgets and very clean plans of where every bit of work is getting done, and then produce maps and show that. So I don't feel like it's wasted work, but it is work that may not bring us $50,000 this year. So that was a big chunk of work for us. We also started camp sales on the 3rd of February, and it appears that we're above last year's sales already, and we have a new format for registration that we invested a lot of time in, which is easier for parents and easier for staff to handle. So we're able to be more focused on the actual camps themselves and making sure everybody's safe, fun, and learning. We have confirmed return of many of our summer staff already. So the continuity within that is great, and we've got some really great new candidates that we're interviewing right now for summer work. Winter has been amazing, as you all know. We've had one this year, and we've been really consistent with visitation, and we've invested a lot in grooming this year. Basically, as often as we can get Andy and Keith out grooming, they've been out, and it's been really great for everybody, and it's awesome to see. Especially on weekends when the sledding hill is cranking and everybody's skiing and fat biking and snowshoeing, and we have events most every weekend at this point, whether it's a beginner clinic, or this past weekend was our fat bike rally. It just feels like the place is lively and healthy, and people are really the smiles. I can't. There's the endorphins, like you can feel it in the air as people come off the trail. So it's a great time to be there, and really helpful for us to not have a winter where we're really struggling. I mean, it gives us a little bit of a cushion to keep moving forward, and not feel quite so on the edge. Let's see what else we got going on. That's a big chunk of it. I don't want to take too much time. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about what's going on? Oh, wait, building planning. I should talk about that. That's kind of an important one. We've held 2 of our public meetings now, and have, I believe, over 80 responses on our online form for input on this. the process has been really positive, and I feel like folks are much more engaged with it than they were for the trail plan, as we've noted. Um, and Danielle, thank you for coming to our last meeting and participating there too. It's been while we haven't had a ton of people who show up to the public meetings, I feel like the people who have shown up are really strong and have great input, and potentially are some of our partners for the future in this. At the last meeting, Chris Bertrand showed up, who's the vice president of business development for DEW Construction, and he's a longtime Catamount fan and was just effusive with how he wanted to help us make this happen. So it's neat to have potential partners like that who are not just looking to make a buck. In fact, he was talking more about figuring out ways to make this less costly for us. So that's not a common retail proposal, but he really loves Catamount and wants to see it happen. So it's been great to meet with folks like that. And we have our final meeting on Wednesday of next week, and then we expect some conceptual drawings for this committee to be looking at and for us to be looking at pretty soon. So we're excited to share that, and we'll keep moving forward on it.
Maybe you can let us know when you have those so we can give you a larger chunk of time.
Absolutely. As soon as we get them, we're happy to share. There's nothing secret about it, and we want you guys to see it. And if it comes in before a meeting that we already have a full agenda on, it's you can look at them on your own if you want, and we'll just save it for the next meeting.
Rebecca's been contacting all of us, right? When she's had, is that okay that she's sent up from the land trust, has sent us all emails?
Yeah, so it's okay if you're all getting it.
Mhm.
Just standard advice to all public bodies is don't do a lot of back and forth between yourselves over email. Anything that could be seen as a conversation of a quorum of the group needs to happen in an open session, just per Vermont open meeting law. So if you ever have a question, you can always send something to, if you ever have something you want to get out to everybody, you can always send something to me and say, Matt, can you just send this one way to everybody, and we can talk about it at the meeting. So if you get, if someone like, VLT sends something and it just goes to the whole membership, as long as it doesn't set off a giant dialogue between yourselves that really ought to happen on an agenda, you're all good. If that starts to happen, the staff or the chair can step in and say, hey guys, let's put this on the agenda next time and talk about it. And that's all that has to be. Just want to stay transparent.
Maybe we can link the survey to the minutes for tonight, so everybody in our committee could participate in the survey too.
Yeah, send it along and we'll send it. I'll send it out.
So you just need a link. Is that what you were asking for?
Yes, please.
Sure, no problem.
I'll forward it onto the group.
Sounds good. All right. I had a question. Do you have any big events coming up soon that maybe it would be nice for us to hear about?
We have our second beginner clinic of the winter happening on Saturday. CTA, Catamount Trail Association, is there every Saturday with their ski cubs. Program. And then on Sunday we have a sold out event with that's led by Catamount Trail Association, Audubon Vermont, VLT. So I think Rebecca is actually going to be there, and Pride Rides Vermont, and I think there may even be one other partner that I'm missing. But it was a joint effort by all those groups to come and visit Catamount in the winter. So we're really excited about that one. And then really the main events that are coming up are really just those group visits and and another, I'm sorry, we also on Friday night, we have our Tour de Moon, which is smaller, but it is an event that we've started this year. So we're leading night tours around the full moon, January, February, and March, and it depends. So far, we've been able to ski, but we had planned it might be a hike or a snowshoe or a fat bike, depending on the weather. But so far, we've been able to ski. So, and then looking into the spring, we have our spring launch party, and we're working on a gravel ride for that, and so that, but between now and then, it is mainly scheduled events like Tour de Moon and the CTA folks coming in.
Awesome. Thanks.
Is your website the best place to look for this information, or is there a Facebook page, or?
Our
How would
Facebook
I-
page has an event calendar, and our website does so, and our newsletter, if you want to sign up for that, has like the next chunk of events in it usually, and always has an event link to it.
Okay, great.
So speaking of events, we have a town event to add
Yes,
to the event Excel link.
so there's it's a library bird walk on May 30th.
I believe
Is
so,
what
yeah.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
What day of the week?
It's
a Friday.
It's a Friday, okay.
Hey, Danielle, if it's in May, that might be something I want to actually go to Catamount for.
Ready to come outside?
See your put it on your calendar.
May 30th.
Sometimes it snows on May 30th.
You might still be shoveling out. I hear you're going to get another foot this weekend.
Yes, we're excited.
So,
Might last a little bit longer into March and maybe April.
yeah,
Saturday, May 30th, or
This-
whatever. If it's not May 30th, I think it's probably the Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. The library
yeah.
would like to do their annual walk with
31st.
Terry Moran.
Yeah, so that Saturday would be the 31st. We'll confirm and get it
Okay.
on the spreadsheet. Just anybody who doesn't know, we've, try to avoid scheduling events that would bring pedestrians out there when the trails are closed, when it's really wet in the springtime. So hopefully, fingers crossed, May 30th gets us
Oh,
That's
to a
that's
point where the
not a-
trails are doing okay.
we're not at all concerned about the spring mount on May 30th. I mean, unless things really change this year,
Yeah.
that would be way out of the window for normal stuff.
Yeah.
and just for Drew, Jean, we have an Excel schedule, Excel spreadsheet going for
Yeah.
keeping transparency about dates happening and trying to get those on the calendar a few months in advance. I think that the bird groups are going to try for a few more in May, but they don't have their dates yet.
Okay. So we'll keep on them.
Stay tuned.
The sooner the better that we know about them, so we can coordinate with the family center and committee.
Right. All right, and we have our future agenda items. Hopefully, what about Brandon Benedict? When can we meet with him?
Remind me who Brandon
He's
is.
the new county forester.
The new county forester. I will reach out to him and just tell him the dates of the upcoming meetings and see if we can get him on to talk about Catamount stuff.
That'd be great.
Matt, is now a good time to talk about the building ownership, or are we outside of our?
What I would say is the ownership structure is going to be a matter primarily handled by the manager's office and the select board ultimately, because it's a sort of a real estate transaction. So stay tuned. We're aware that there are ways this can work. And I think if I'm not mistaken, manager Eric Wells has at least put a feeler in with the town attorney that this is something we're interested in exploring and understanding more about. So, but I think for this committee's purpose, just knowing that there's an ongoing project by the Family Center to develop a building that would be on the property, which means it would be on town property, but would primarily serve the programmatic elements of what the Family Center does out there and provide stability for the camp program, permanent home for office facilities, and some other things that are important to the long time functioning of the Family Center on the property. Is that accurate enough?
It is, yes.
Okay.
You know, I know Rebecca responded and
Yes.
gave some level of clarity with some murkiness too. But you know, I guess we'd like to be part of the conversation with the lawyer at some point, if possible. You know, we have our concerns and interests involved in it all too. So,
Yep.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, as somebody who probably be on both sides of that conversation, then I think the important thing for wearing this hat for this committee is it cited in a correct place that we're comfortable with? Is it going to support the programming that we want it to support? Is there programming we'd like it to support that the Family Center may not be thinking about it? Maybe we want them to. I outside of bird box storage, I'm not sure what that would be, but you know, those are the kind of questions I would see belong to this committee versus the legal financial stuff that would belong to the town manager, select board. That's my opinion. Because on the select board, I'm not, if they ask me like it's in the right place, I'd say, I don't know, ask the committee. So.
Good points.
Yeah, I would think there may be a point where the select board would want a memo from this committee in regards to its perspective on the sort of like the appropriateness, the usefulness, the function, et cetera, of the building. And, you know, it's essentially, it would look like a letter of support, I think, that would come out of this group. But I think we're a little ways away from that just yet. Might put it on as a future item. We could
Standing
just say,
items.
you know, building update for now, and then ultimately solidify the role of this committee in that effort / decision by the town.
Come on, messy notes. Solidify the position of the committee. All right. It's aside from the invasive plan, which I feel like we're waiting for a few more months, it seems like we have reached the end of our agenda items. Our next meeting is scheduled for
March 13th. February to March, it's always the same day.
March 13th.
So same time, same location, 1 month hence.
I know in advance that I will absolutely not be able to make it. But y'all can carry on without me.
That's toward the moon.
And come from away, the Flynn.
Oh, you weren't coming to Tour de Moon?
If only you could do both. I'll have to do Tour de Moon tomorrow.
There's still spots, I believe, so we can handle it.
Should we consider moving it in or out a week? I mean, I appreciate you, Danielle, saying we can go without you, but there's only 5 of us on the committee, so
Yeah.
one is. And
If we push it out a week, it would give us a chance to get a conservation planner.
Maybe.
Matt looks like he's gonna think on that.
I'll think on it. I'll poll folks when we get a little closer. There's the part of me that really likes consistency, and then there's the part of me that likes everybody to be here. And yeah, if I have someone on board by then, that'd be great. I'm guessing I might not have someone on board until closer to the first week of April, just with what, you know, what usually happens when we hire someone is it usually takes a while for them to give notice wherever they are and, you know, get situated. So I don't know that it'll get you a staff person for next time, but schedule wise, I can just send something around to the group in a week or two and see what folks want to do.
I mean, because it sounds like we could be doing two big things. One is if we get our county forester here, it'd be kind of nice if Danielle could be here for that conversation. And if we get into conversations about, you know, our bigger document review we're doing here, I would appreciate if Danielle could be there too. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, so take a look at March 20th and see if that works, and then I'll send a follow-up email. We can poll people if that works better.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
So we do want to have everybody try to read some of these documents in advance of month's meeting so that we can discuss
Yep.
governance policies, not decide in that meeting. But
So
have
just get those
discussion.
off the website.
Well, yeah, Matt will send us a link.
He's gonna send, okay.
Yeah. All right. Can I make a motion?
You sure?
Okay. Is there any other conversation? All right, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All right. Thanks. See everybody. Oh, actually, all in favor of adjournment, why don't you wave your hands? Thank you. And
Thanks,
Good
everybody.
luck healing up ponds.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Jim. All right.
yeah. Bye.
Bye.